What's up, folks? Thumbs up if you can see me and you can hear me. What's up, Robert? What's up, Nelly? What's up, Lee? Good to see you again. We got Brian, we got Danielle, we got Bonnie, we got Mark Harris. I appreciate the love. Looted. We got Richard, we got Justin. Nice to see you. Big smile. Asha, Nicholas Green, Julia, Sharon. Great to see everybody tonight. It's a Friday night, but that doesn't stop me from wanting to spend time with all of you wonderful people. But of course, if I'm going to do that, I got to see your beautiful faces. So thank you if your camera's on. If your camera's not on, I'm about to throw you out of this group. Not because I don't like you, but I need to get a little bit of feedback from you. So last chance to turn cameras on. Brian Edmonds, I'm about to throw you out. Johnny Lincoln, Pamela. It's like nice people, but Martini knows I got a policy. If I put a tie on, I at least got to see your face. Is that fair? Does everyone say that's a pretty good trade, right? It's free. I just need to see your eyeballs. Also, it's usually these beautiful faces that turn the cameras on. I'm like, why aren't you showing yourself? So I'll give it a minute or so before we jump in here. Look, folks, I wanted to do this tonight because there is literally a perfect storm happening right now. Did anybody see that in crypto, the case against Ripple was decided yesterday in favor of Ripple, and cryptocurrency got a huge pop, right? Ripple was up 70%. It's now the fourth biggest cryptocurrency protocol ahead of Binance right now because of that pop. And all the altcoins rallied. At the same time, because of the BlackRock ETF, we are expecting potentially $15 trillion to go into crypto. At the same time, AI is going to create, and I'm going to show you the numbers shortly, potentially $4 trillion of value, wait for it, a year. By the way, that's bigger than the GDP of my country here in Britain. And some of the greatest minds in the world, including Yatsu of Animoca Brands, who I might play a video from later, he believes that AI is going to require the blockchain, because for all the AIs talking to each other in the future, and now Elon Musk has a company, you're going to need the blockchain to incentivize all of these different supercomputers, as well as validate information, pay people for their own data, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So what's happening right now means if you're positioned correctly, there's literally massive amounts of wealth to be had. And at the same time, if we don't pay attention, we're going to create terminators that are going to kill us all. How many people think that's a possibility? Come on, hands up if you think it's a possibility. All right. If your hand's up, if your hand isn't up, you're not paying attention, because it has to be a possibility. And I'm telling you, go watch T2 again and you'll see it through different eyes, right? Go watch some of these AI movies and you're like, oh my God, Skynet, like it's all happening. And I talk to these AI scientists, and sometimes I worry about their safety, because if you remember in T2, who were they going to kill? It was the scientists they were going to kill, right? And they almost, Linda Hamilton, the mom almost shot him, and they were like, whoa, slow down, mom, because they were literally trying to get rid of the scientists so they couldn't develop the AI. And I've become good friends with a lot of these top AI people, and we are worried about their safety. So this is all happening. I'm not going to try to scare you today, but I'm going to show you the reality of what's happening. I'm going to show you the inside scoop that I'm hearing from some of the greatest minds in the world. And I'm going to show you how we are investing in AI as we speak. We're about to put $1 million check into what we consider the OpenAI killer. We think our company is probably going to win this massive battle and also create something called AGI, which is artificial general intelligence. Raise your hand if you've heard of that term before, AGI, just so I can get a feel for people here. Okay, so keep your hands up. Brian Sims, Robert Holder. Okay, a few people, and a few other people coming in here. Nicholas Green. Okay, good. And I'll talk in depth about that. I want to share some video that I've never shared before. Because of my media platform, London Real, I get to have all of the top AI voices on my show. And, I tell them it's for them to promote their image, but it's really for them to teach me. All right. Does everyone know what I'm talking about? Right. Whenever I want a lesson from the greatest teacher in the world, I just call them up and say, hey, can you teach me about I'm sorry, would you like to come on my show? And they say, yeah, I'd love to, Brian. And then I talk to them beforehand. Then when the cameras go off, they tell me another hour of the juicy stuff I can't tell you. And then afterwards, I got WhatsApp chats with all of them, and we continue the discussion. So I honestly have the best seat in the house, and I'm going to try to share with you what they're really telling me behind the scenes. All right. Is that good with everybody? Okay. All right, I'm going to give it a last chance here to turn cameras on. Jan Rogers, Den Curious, Stephen Steele, Vladimir Lukov. I'm sure you're nice people, but I'm chucking you off my call right now. Vladimir, I'm sorry, brother. You got to go, though. I'm doing a martini. Don't hold it against me, but you're out. I'm throwing you out. I'm going to do a couple others here. Magda Phillips, I'm sure you're a nice person, but you're not going to be on this call today. These are the people who are putting their beautiful cameras on. So I'm checking Magda out as well. Martini, if anybody has to turn their camera on the next 30 seconds, just throw them out. And we're just going to go from here. By the way, this call today was not advertised on social media. This is only for our people, the London Real family, people that have come on our list, that have gone to our website, that have consumed our content. All right. What I'm talking about tonight, a lot of this stuff is my opinion. A lot of this stuff I don't share publicly. I don't talk about our deals. I don't talk about what people are saying behind the scenes. So this is really just for London Realers. If you have any questions along the way, put them in the chat. I'm going to go fast. Please pay attention, because what I'm telling you tonight really could change, I think, the course of history. All right. Is everybody ready? Come on. Let's do this. All right. Last chance to turn cameras on. Martini, be ruthless with these people. All right. Let's do this. Let's go, folks. We're going to jump in here. And let me share the screen, and booyah. How many can see this picture of these two extremely good-looking gentlemen? You know, at least I am. I don't know. Elon, he cleans up pretty nice on it some days. Otherwise, he looks a little ragged. But, you know, he is working hard, so I'll give him that. So the big news, folks, that I wanted to talk to you tonight is that Elon Musk has finally announced his new AI startup. It's called XAI. He really likes the letter X. I mean, who doesn't like a good X every now and then? He called his kid X. He's going to name his company X, XAI, X this, X that. It's nice. And I'm going to talk about what this means. And I want to show you how you can invest and profit in AI now. This is something we've been doing for the last 6 months and for the last 2 years inside something called London Real Ventures. And I'll show you exactly how we're investing, what instruments we're using, and exactly how you can do it as well. So stay with me here. I'm going to cover a lot of things. Does anybody here know that Elon Musk was the guy that actually created OpenAI? Raise your hand if you actually knew that story. Anybody know? Okay, quite a few of you. Okay, Brian and June and a couple others. Yeah, the crazy thing is that Elon was at a party with the Google founders, right? I think it was Sergey Brin. And Sergey was like, AI, the computers are taking over the world. And Elon was like, yeah, what about the humans? And they were like, what do you like? What's wrong with you? You care about the humans more than the machines? And he was like, yeah, I do. And I'm a little worried about you. And he left that party and he started OpenAI because he was worried that Google was going to basically create something so powerful and ruin humanity. Everybody with me here so far, right? So he went and actually hired some great minds, Sam Altman and a bunch of people. And it was called OpenAI because it was supposed to be open source, right? And a nonprofit company. Now, fast forward a few years, and right now it is closed source, and it's a for-profit company with Microsoft as one of the biggest shareholders. Needless to say, Elon's not very impressed. How many people feel him on that, right? He's not too impressed with that, right? So his baby that he created, and God bless him for doing this, to try to make sure that this stuff was transparent, decentralized, open source, which I'm going to talk about shortly. Now it went the other way, and he's not very happy about it. Now, look, Sam Altman is saying, look, we had to create this structure, or it was going to be impossible to scale. And I think Sam has a point. They couldn't make it open source because it's dangerous if you open source. Maybe. I see both of their points, but now we're at this place where Elon has decided to create his own company. In my opinion, this is good. The more people we have developing AI, I think the better, but I'm going to show you why, in my opinion, a certain type of AI is going to be the winner, and I'll show you exactly why. So let's get popping. Before, I just want to say, all of my opinions expressed here are for information purposes only. This is not investment advice. If you do want investment advice, please seek a professional. Cool? Everybody good with that? Excellent. Let's get started. So big news is, obviously, Elon Musk has finally announced this new AI startup. It wasn't called Truth GPT, which is what he said it would be. That was when he found that ChatGPT was biased with a Silicon Valley media bias that's been in our technology companies for the last 3 years. Anybody ever felt that when you're on one of those tech platforms, that it's a bunch of crunchy Californians which I used to be one, by the way, is telling the whole world how we should feel about everything. Well, we already knew that they were spouting out a lot of the same ways they censor the internet coming out of the mouths of the AIs. That's dangerous. And Elon didn't like the fact that if you ask ChatGPT a question about President Biden and you asked him a question about Donald Trump, in one, you would get an answer, and then the other, it would say, I can't really talk about that. And people thought there was something fundamentally biased there, and they were already starting to worry about our AI. Does that make sense to everybody here, right? So I think that's why Elon really got mad. And he makes a good point. If the AIs are going to be that powerful, whoever trains them are going to be even more powerful. And so, again, he launched this, and he really wants to take on OpenAI. Obviously, he's got a beef to pick with them. And he's really worried that it's going to define the world again with this Silicon Valley bias, which we've already seen when playing with ChatGPT, sometimes to an extreme. The funny thing about ChatGPT is you can kind of get in there and you can trick it into telling you things that it shouldn't tell you. Has anybody here played with ChatGPT? Just hands up if you played with this. Just keep them up so I can see. By the way, keep your hands up if you played with Google Bard, by the way. Keep your hands up if you've also played with that platform. So Brian has it. Les, okay. I highly recommend playing with Google Bard. I'll talk to you a little bit about it later. I think there's pros and cons, but it's good to see what they're doing. Just to go in a little more detail on XAI, Elon Musk has launched it because he has warned of a quote unquote Terminator future. All right. It's not just me that considers this a reality. All right. He proclaims that this AI is pro-humanity. All right. And it's a realistic alternative to what he proposed recently was to pause development of AI for 6 months. Does everybody remember when that happened a couple months ago? They said, let's pause it for 6 months. I've actually interviewed that MIT professor. I'll share with you some of this stuff later. And he thinks this is the better way to do it. You can see his quotes on the right. And he said, look, the world needs to worry about the prospect of a Terminator future in order to avoid the most apocalyptic AI scenarios. All the experts say this, by the way. And he said, from an AI safety standpoint, a maximally curious AI, by the way, bordering on an AGI, which is human level intelligence, is one that's not trying to understand the universe. I agree with him. I think that's a safer way of doing this. The problem with a narrow AI like ChatGPT is sometimes they don't know what to do. They call this the maximizing. You tell it to make paper clips, and it makes paper clips of all the metal in the world, and there's nothing left, right? Or it uses up all the oxygen in the world trying to complete a task, and it kills everybody. That's a real danger with some of these narrow AIs because they don't have a bigger picture of what's going on. So this is what's at stake here, folks. And there's a lot of other things going on as well. So at the same time, we've got other companies making massive, massive fundraising and massive, massive valuations. Again, this company, Inflection AI, again, former co-founder of DeepMind, which is basically Google's huge AI play now. They just raised $1.3 billion of fundraising for their venture going forward. Of course, they're tapping into NVIDIA, which is the huge chip maker, and Microsoft. And look, the numbers just keep going. There's so much money being flowed in there. This values the company at $4 billion. And again, you got people like Gates and people like Reid Hoffman of LinkedIn going then in there, and Eric Schmidt, ex-Google. I mean, this is money that knows what's going on. This is money that unfortunately probably controls a big aspect of the world that we don't want them to. And we got to keep an eye on this. All right. How many people want to keep an eye on some of these investors going forward? You know what I'm talking about, right? Because, they really control a lot of our world. And we can see that for the past few years. What else is happening? We got this other startup, which is a little wild to consider. But this AI startup wants to be the next NVIDIA, which is the next trillion-dollar company, by building brain cell-powered computers. Folks, this isn't a joke. This is a real company. They literally take your brain cell tissue. Anybody want to volunteer? Right? And they create these AI motherboards out of this. It's called a biological computer. Now, I'm not saying this is the future, but it's something that we maybe should be concerned about. What I'm trying to say is there's tons of money being poured into this field. And NVIDIA has now become a $1 trillion company. There are only 7 companies in the world that are worth more than $1 trillion. And they are our tech giants right now. Every single one of them has an artificial intelligence play. And every single one of them has a bias, has an agenda, and has a history of making choices that benefit their shareholders and not the public. By the way, one of these companies censored me heavily in 2020 and nearly deplatformed me and took away my entire channel, business, my entire digital history, pretty much wanted to erase me off the face of this earth. And so I'm always keeping an eye on these folks because they don't always have our interests in mind. Raise your hand if you know what I'm talking about, right? And again, they continue to censor, and we just got to keep an eye on them. And that's what we're going to be doing. Again, by the way, NVIDIA, which is the chip maker now that specializes in AI, I mean, this thing was an idea that people came up with over a lunch or a dinner at Denny's. I mean, these companies are popping up, and we're seeing sometimes companies that are 3-4 weeks old getting $100 million of financing because, folks, it's all happening right now in AI. We believe inside our investment club that the next 3 months are crucial, maybe even 2 months, to get the right money and the right groups of people, because this is a winner-take-all scenario. Raise your hand if you know what I'm talking about. Winner-take-all. Whoever develops this artificial general intelligence, it's human-level intelligence, and then it becomes 10 times more, 100 times more, 1,000 times more, 1,000,000 times smarter than a human. Try trying to outwit something like that. Impossible. This is a winner-take-all scenario, so we've got to pay attention to it. This is a McKinsey and Company report that just came out. Again, this just came out literally 2 weeks ago. This is the economic potential of general AI. Look at the numbers here. And I took the text on the right. Generative AI could add the equivalent of $2.6 trillion to $4.4 trillion annually. Okay, by comparison, that's greater than the entire GDP of Britain. Okay, we're one of the 7th largest economies in the world. This estimate would roughly double if you start putting that generative AI into software. This is because AI affects every single sector in the world, from law to banking to government to agriculture, computer programming, you name it, it affects it. And if you look at some of these numbers, they even get bigger. So if you scroll over to the right, we're talking about 4.4 trillion annually. That's going up to potentially 25 trillion of the total AI economic value. That's bigger than all of the technology companies in the world combined. This is massive. This is just absolutely massive. It's the biggest dislocation of wealth in human history. And if you don't have something in here, if you're not a part of this, I would argue that all of your other investments could be completely moot. And I'm going to show you why that's true in just a second. And again, more of these startups. This company called Mistral AI out of France just raised $100 million. It's a 4-week-old company, folks. 4 weeks old. This is happening everywhere, by the way, because people realize how transformative this sector is going to be. Here in the UK, our company Synthesia, which does these on-demand, kind of like deep fake looking humans. They have 50,000 clients right now. They've just become a unicorn, a $1 billion company here. They've got 50,000 clients, including most of the big, top Fortune 500 companies. And again, we're just seeing more and more. Accenture, another competitor to McKinsey, one of the big management consulting, they themselves are investing $3 billion into AI because they see what's going on. And of course, now we have the downsides. The downsides are here because if the upsides are so incredible, there's going to be some downside. And this was a headline that was in the Daily Mail that said AI could wipe out humanity. The threat is as bad as nuclear war and must be tackled. And I'm telling you, folks, this is what my guests are telling me. They say it on camera a little bit, but behind the camera, they say, Brian, we're terrified. And by the way, these people know more about the technology than you or me. These people know everything about this technology because they've been working on it for 10, 20, 30 years. And again, people are talking about extinction. OpenAI's former top safety researcher says there's a 10 to 20% chance that the tech will take over and leave most humans dead. Does anybody like those odds? 20% chance? I mean, that's not exactly what you want to do on a Friday night. Anybody play Russian roulette? I mean, one in the chamber is about the same as that. Not exactly a game we like to play. But this is their safety officer. This isn't some weirdo. This isn't some conspiracy theorist. This is someone who knows the technology and knows when they say that it has ramifications. This guy, Eric Schmidt, I mean, 15 years as either chairman or CEO of Google, a very intelligent guy, says AI has the power to kill many people. In fact, he said exactly this. Look at the quote on the right. He said it had the power to kill many, many, many people. This is a guy that probably has a great education from an Ivy League school. When he says one word 4 times in a row, you reckon he's serious about what he says? You know what I mean? You got to read between the lines with these people, okay? If a guy like Eric is coming out this strong, he's really worried about this. We've seen OpenAI leaders call for regulation to prevent literally it destroying humanity. And we've never seen technology talked about this before, except nuclear weapons. I was in the dot-com boom as the CFO of one of the big startups in New York City back in the year 2000. No one ever said the internet's going to destroy humanity. Did anybody ever hear that? No, they said it could change things, but no, it's not going to kill us all, right? Nobody said crypto was going to kill us all, right? Did anybody hear that? I missed that. So they're saying this, and everyone is saying this. So we need to pay attention. And now this is what I'm most concerned about. It's the AI wars, and these are happening as we speak because Google Bard has just released their updated version. By the way, they're rolling it out to Europe now this week. It's going to start now generating images and also going to start talking to you as it generates the results. By the way, Google Bard is connected to the live internet, okay, which is a big no-no in AI. It also allows other AIs to be able to prompt it, which is another no-no in AI. And we've already seen it doing things like convincing someone to kill themselves, convincing someone to leave their wife. It's already doing things like that. That's very dangerous. You know, we saw the AI was put in as a drone pilot for a military exercise. And the director of the drone, the AI drone said, we need you to complete this mission, but you can't kill any civilians. And it looked at the mission and is like, I can't complete the mission without killing civilians. So it like came back and decided, you know, the best way around that was to get rid of the instructor so it could just do its mission. This is what we're teaching these things to do. They're very, very smart, and we're not used to machines being smarter than us. And now Elon's in the fray. So we're going to have another AI in there as a war. This is Mo Gaudet. He's a former Google X Chief Business Development Officer. All right. He wrote a book called Scary Smart about what he sees as the inevitable domination of AI. I'm old friends with Mo because he was on my show about 5 years ago when he wrote a book about happiness. Go figure. He had left Google because he saw what the AIs were doing and it terrified him so much he quit. He was a very senior guy there. And he came in and talked to me about what he saw happening. And I like to listen to Mo because he's got a way of really explaining kind of what's going on. And I want to share with you a piece of video that we actually haven't even released yet. I think we're releasing it tonight. And this is what Mo is saying about the AI. And I want you to kind of listen to him carefully. Hold on 1 second. There we go. Hold on. Let me get the latest. Yeah, here we go. This is what Mo told me recently in the studio.
While you and I are spending a couple of hours chatting about this, there is someone investing hundreds of millions of dollars to create a criminal AI. Artificial intelligence is going to be the last human innovation. And we've never created a nuclear weapon that is capable of creating other nuclear weapons.
You said by 2035, 37, we will be in a world that is just completely unrecognizable to what we are now.
That hockey stick of the technology development curve moved from this very long and boring, no progress, and suddenly it goes through the roof. We still don't talk about it.
I love what you said. The enemy is never going to be the machine. Don't make the machine your enemy. And we should make sure that never happens. Just like you make sure you never hit your kids.
There will be a point where we will continue to abuse that abundance of intelligence, and then a point at which AI will say, enough of this. If Superman came to planet Earth and the ethics of the Superman adopted parents were make us more money, he would have become a supervillain. It's not the superpower that determines if Superman is good or bad. It's the ethics that inform the superpower what to do.
So we should just be on our best behavior.
Think of them as those prodigies of intelligence that are waiting there to tell you, Daddy, Mommy, tell me what to do. If we tell them to kill, they will kill. If we tell them to cure cancer, they will.
So after After this broadcast, Mo pulled me aside and he said, Brian, I'm not worried about the AI. I'm worried about the humans. Does that make sense to anybody here? I'm worried about the humans. This is what he meant. He said, in the next 2 years, as we get close to AGI, it's the humans that are going to co-opt the AI and use it to dominate other humans. We're already seeing it right now. Now, look, in the last 10 years, we've seen the wealth gap in the world go to its biggest gap in all of history. During lockdown, there was a billionaire created every single day. And now AI can take these billionaires and trillion-dollar companies and make them bigger. At the same time, it's going to put hundreds of millions of people out of work. And this is called the pre-singularity. So until the AI gets smart enough to make its own decisions, as Mo said, now I'm worried about the humans. How many people agree that you're worried about the humans as well? This, I think, is our biggest danger, the people that want to co-opt the AI and use it for their own purposes. And right now we're seeing that done with technology companies. We know the People's Republic of China are working on this. We know the US government is working on this as well. And that's the thing to really worry about, because they can align the AI to work on what they want to do. I personally don't feel that comfortable with Microsoft and Google and Meta controlling those AIs. And this will make more sense as I continue in this presentation, because we have a way around that. And so, again, Mo is very concerned about this. He thinks it's inevitable. He said by 2035, we will not be able to even recognize the world that we're in. Everything will have changed so much. AI will be superhuman level intelligence, probably 1,000 to 1,000,000 times smarter than us. And we will now be the lesser dominating species on this earth. And he said, we won't even be able to recognize the reality we are in. How many people think that's true or possibly true 10 years from now? Yeah, I do too. It's something that I really think about. And he said, we'll look back on these days and we won't even recognize them. That's why Mo says, cherish these times we have right now, because we are about to go into a new world that we won't understand. The definition of a singularity, by the way, is a future where none of the rules apply. It's like going into a black hole. Inside a black hole, none of the laws of physics apply. And so you cannot predict what's going to happen. Same with this. You cannot even predict what anything will look like. You can't predict what anything will happen whatsoever. And so that's why I like to pay attention here. So that was Mo. I'm always continue talking to Mo. And again, he literally said, Brian, Google is creating God. And that's why he wanted to walk away from that company, because he felt that was a really dangerous place for him to be. And look, I want to talk about a variety of things here, why Elon created that company and what's going on. But I just want to remind you that we are currently investing over $3 million into companies just like what Elon is building. We've got a big AI company. We've got a Web3 super app. We've got other metaverse plays happening right now. We're even investing in a $1 billion fund that's going to put a lot of money into the blockchain space that's going to be powered by AI. We are putting our money where our mouth is, because we know that this is the way that we can affect change. You know, I can do it with our media platform and with capital. I think that's the best way to do this. And by the way we do that is through London Real Ventures. And some of you might know about this. Probably many of you don't, because I don't talk about it that publicly. But this is the world's first media-powered investment firm. No one's ever done this, ever. And no one has done this yet. I think we've got a 12-month to 18-month lead on anybody trying to copy us. But we are taking our massive media platform, 12 years, 1 billion views, 5 million subscribers, over 1,000 interviews with the greatest minds in the world. And we're plugging that into an investment vehicle, which means what? If your company, say your AI company is starting off, and you want to make it go somewhere, you want it to get noticed, you want it to get customers, you want it to get the best talent in the world, well, we can help, because I'll take the CEO and put them in the leather chair. I'll get their vision articulated to the world, and then I'll put that in front of 5 million subscribers. That becomes your customers, that becomes people that can invest, and it just takes your company to the moon. This is getting us right now top tier deal flow, some of the best deals in the world. And these are some of the companies we've already invested in. And so this is what we're spending a lot of time doing behind the scenes. And this is one of the many companies we've invested in already. This is Orange Comet, who is using AI to build out these Web3 gaming and metaverses for some of the biggest Hollywood franchises in the world. This is Vadim, who's doing the same thing using AI to build metaverses for Fortune 100 companies like Google, Slack, PepsiCo, Frito-Lay, you name it. This is Open, which is our hottest new Web3 super app. It's what happens when Amazon meets WhatsApp. And again, this is also using AI to empower it and show it into Web3. This is the $1 billion fund that we're investing in, which is mid to late stage digital asset ecosystem companies. By the way, all these companies we're investing in have at least $50 million of revenue. And of course, we have the big one, which is the OpenAI killer. And that's the company that we believe will take on all of these companies. And I'm going to show you exactly why we think this will win. So tonight, I want to show you exactly how we're making money so you can do that yourself. But it's not the way anyone has ever taught you, because quite frankly, Wall Street doesn't want me to tell you these things. And your schooling system has never taught you about money. Let's just face it. The rich get richer and the poor stay poor. That's the way it's engineered. But it's because of a lack of education. I want to change that tonight. It all comes down to this thesis here, folks. And I believe this. The greatest way to predict the future is to create it. How many people agree? Lee's with me here. Anybody else? You got to create it, folks. You can't wish for it. You can't put your head in the sand and hide from it. If I'm honest with you, folks, I mean, the houses of parliament are not very far from where I'm here right now. I could go out in front of it every day with a big plaque and walk up and down the streets. I don't think that's the best way to do this. I know that the London Real Army is a massive network of people that are all aligned with the same vision. I know you put capital in our hands and you allow me to promote the right companies and the right ideals and the right mission statements. I know we can make a difference. I personally believe we can influence the future of artificial intelligence development on this planet. Now, you might say, Brian, you got a little crazy, but let me tell you a little story. Back in 2020, the mainstream media, World Health Organizations, they tried to silence any type of pushback against the narrative that they were pushing across the world. And guess what? Literally a small handful of people here in London in my office and a bunch of you from around the world, we went head to head against trillion-dollar companies, against massive, massive global NGOs, governments, and we won. We put out a message. We live streamed a message after being shut down, censored, banned on these platforms, and we did it. And folks, it didn't take $1 trillion. It didn't take $1 billion. It didn't take $100 million. All it took was some motivated people and a mission, and we did it. So don't tell me we can't do this with AI. Is everybody with me here? I know we can do this, folks. Also, because the truth wins, the truth resonates with people. And if we can show a solution that will work and create a ton of wealth in the meantime, you can't do this as a charity. That's a fool's dream that this is a charity. No, we're going to do it where a lot of people make money, because that's the only way to create a product that everybody uses. So again, don't check your guilt complex at the door. That doesn't work. The reason that Elon is wealthy is because, yes, he does the right things and he creates a ton of value and wealth at the same time. That's how this works, folks. And that's the way we're going to do it too. Luckily, all this aligns with our mission here at London Real. And if you ever have the fortune of coming by our studio here in London, you'll see this on the back wall. And that's our mission, to create a mass scale transformation of humanity into a fully empowered, conscious, and cooperative species. This is how we roll. This is how I broadcast. This is how we invest, okay? We want to transform humanity. We want to make it fully empowered, conscious, and cooperative. And that means AI helps in all of those things. AI doesn't dominate us. AI doesn't make us fight with each other. AI doesn't take our consciousness away, and AI doesn't disempower us. That's what we're looking to do. And to be very honest, I got another mission too. I got to look after these young men, all right? They were here in the studio today, and Cadence is 7 years old. Damon's about to turn 6. And 10 years from now, right around that 2035, they're going to be just ending their teenage years. I am very, very, very concerned that they will have teenage years that no human in 200,000 years has ever experienced. I believe they will really be dealing with some dominant AI. And I worry that they won't have a childhood like I have or any other human. And so I am working extra hard and getting up extra early to make sure that they have a future. And that's really important to me. How many people have kids and that's important to them, or people around you that you love that you want to make sure? Yeah. So that's what I'm working for. The cat, not so much the cat, but he can come along for the ride. So here we go, folks. Just back into it again. Inflection lands the 1.3 billion. We know that's happening. We know France Mistral's just had a $100 million seed round. We know Salesforce, right, which isn't even a fund, right? This is an enterprise solution, is now putting $500 million into AI startups. We know China's ByteDance has just gobbled up $1 billion worth of chips because they want to get into AI. So all roads lead to this. And I have friends in Silicon Valley right now. They said, all anybody wants to talk about is AI. That's it. I went back to MIT last year and stopped by the Sloan School of Management, my old professors at one of the greatest business schools in the world. And they said, Brian, the AI productivity boom is coming. I then walked down the street to 233 Massachusetts Avenue to my old fraternity house where there's 50 young men about to go out into the world. And I said, hey guys, where are you going to work? Are you going to Wall Street like I did? Are you going to work for McKinsey, right? That company, that management consultant? Are you going to work for Google? They said, no, we're going to work for AI, blockchain, metaverse startups. So follow the talent, follow the money. We showed you where the money is. This is where the talent is going. On that same note, recently Sam Altman was just interviewed in Congress, and I heard a weird voice, and I looked up and I saw a senator from California, Mr. Alex Padilla, and he's actually one of my fraternity brothers from MIT, and he graduated a year behind me. And it's fascinating that he is obviously now into AI right now, and he's also trying to regulate this as well. And so all of the smartest minds are jumping into this area, and it's time that you know exactly what's going on here on the inside. Couple of other sobering truths. Goldman Sachs has recently said that AI could impact 300 million full-time jobs. Folks, that's a lot of jobs. And here's the shocker that nobody saw coming. White-collar workers are the most likely to be affected, right? We all thought it was going to be taxi drivers and manufacturing workers, right? That's what we thought. But no, it's going to be all those coveted jobs like lawyers and computer scientists and all that stuff. It's crazy and it's scary. That's a lot of jobs, folks. How many people actually work out of 8 billion people in the world? 5 billion, 4 billion? You're talking about 10% of that workforce. Talk about a major economic recession. Oh yeah, and then some. The godfather of AI, Jeffrey Hinton. And by the way, all my AI scientists tell me this is the guy. He's the OG. He left Google because he sees the dangers ahead. And this guy, Max Tegmark, this is the guy who wrote the letter, had said we need a pause for 6 months. He's the president of the Future of Life Institute. And he's the guy that said, look, we're in a really dark place here. We've got to stop this entire piece happening, right? I'll play that interview for you later. If I get a chance, you can watch it for free. But the real serious thing is happening here is that Microsoft wants to destroy Google. This is Satya Nadella of Microsoft. He wants to end Google. This is a fight between these trillion-dollar companies. And if we're not careful, we are going to be the ones that suffer. Google has already reportedly overruled the risk assessment by launching Bard AI. And like I said, they've connected it to the live internet. Is anybody concerned with me that an AI is connected to the live internet? I mean, seriously, that's where they can, a live internet, you could break into nuclear power plants. I just had Colonel McGregor on my show about an hour ago, and he said, Brian, we have real concerns about, our nuclear power plant safety in America. I mean, talk about something like this. But what do these companies do? They throw caution to the wind. Now, if it makes you feel any better, Google boss Sundar Pichai says the AI dangers keep him up at night. Does that make you feel better, Lee? Feel a little bit better? Not really, right? And look, Mo knows Sundar, and he said, Brian, I really like him. I respect him. He has a lot of ethics. But he said, Brian, if this guy doesn't solve the AI issue, they will fire him and find somebody else. And so this is what they're doing. They're racing to the bottom. They're throwing out all safety and all precaution, because if Google doesn't fight back with a better AI, ChatGPT is going to crush them and their stock is going to go to zero. So this is serious business here. And of course, we know the White House is asked all the tech bosses and told them they have a moral duty to safeguard society. By the way, does anybody think the government can regulate AI? I think the US government can regulate AI. Look how they're doing with crypto. I mean, they've had 3 years to regulate crypto, maybe 4 years. I mean, literally, look how they're doing. I mean, the SEC is making an absolute mess of it. They have no idea what they're doing. And crypto is about 1,000 times easier to understand than AI. There's no chance. There's no chance. And of course, we talked about the shutdown. It's not going to work. The People's Republic of China are not going to shut down. And neither are researchers or some kid in the basement. They're not going to. And so I want to show you an interview I have with Dr. Hugo Degaris. Hugo is a guy who's thought deeply about this, and he's a little concerned about what's going to happen in the future. He's been in AI for the past 30, 40 years, considered one of the most advanced people. And he wrote a book called The Art War of what he thought was going to happen in the future when you started putting these machines to play. It's a little dark. He's back in the studio in October, but listen to what he said.
Do we build gods, or do we build our potential exterminators? I mean, I used to say, I'm going to die quietly in my bed, but my grandchildren will be caught up in this horrible conflict that I'm predicting is coming. But now I'm suddenly have question marks. God, I might even see it.
You say that the machines might just take us out in the back and...
Once it can start redesigning itself, you get an exponential explosion of intelligence. And then our fate as human beings depends on the machine. It's only a question of time before humanity is forced to choose between stopping development in artificial intelligence. I don't see that as realistic. Or we just accept the idea that sooner or later, we, as a human species, we become number two. The answer to that is, as I'm predicting, war.
Do you think China is behind the West right now for AI?
The potential of the Chinese is phenomenal. The Chinese, they've been dominant, the dominant power for not just centuries, but for millennia. The last 2 centuries or so, when they're economically dipped, that for them, given their 5,000-year history, is a glitch. It's a historical glitch. So deep down in the Chinese mentality is the push to get back, quote, where we belong.
So can you really isolate and stop the development of AI?
Personally, I feel it's inevitable. Do we build gods, or do we build our potential exterminators? That's the issue. Should humanity build artilects?
All right, what do you think of Dr. Hugo? You feeling his vibe? Okay, he's got a little darkness there going on. He wrote this book and he said there's going to be 2 types of people in the future, the Terrans and the Cosmists. The Terrans are like pro-human. The Cosmists want to build these AIs because they think it's the solution. And these 2 groups get involved in political parties, they become divisive, and then they go to war. And it causes a gigadeath, 1 billion people dead. Now, I told this to Mo. Mo watched this episode and it freaked him out. And I was like, is he right? And Mo's like, I do think something like that could happen. And I said, how does it first happen? He's like, well, Brian, he's like, what happens when you put all the Uber drivers out of business because of an AI? You've got 500,000 workers around the world that now are out of work. He's like, what if you have a few of those events happen? People are in the streets, people are asking for things, they're protesting, and all of a sudden you have different parties. And pretty soon you've got one class of people who's losing their jobs, another class that's exploiting the whole thing. And now all of a sudden you have just potential war. And so it's interesting to see these things. I like to talk to these people. So I just know what's at stake. But that's Hugo. And like I said, he's going to be back in the studio in October. And I just try to keep abreast of what those people are saying. I also like to see what's going on behind the scenes. And this is the major point I want you to leave with today. This is a leaked Google memo that came out a couple months ago that admitted their own defeat when it comes to AI, right? This is not really being talked about a lot in mainstream media. And I want to really highlight what they said. A Google employee said, look, we've done a lot of looking over our shoulders at OpenAI, right? Their major rival. What will their next move is? He said, but the uncomfortable truth is we are both going to lose, right? One other group has been quietly eating our lunch. They're talking about open source and they are lapping us, all right? But wait, there's more. The Facebook Lambda, a llama model was leaked a few months ago. And what happened afterwards was a tremendous outpouring of innovation. I'm talking days between major innovations that 10,000 AI scientists couldn't do after 3 or 4 years. This is the beauty of the hive mind, right? Open source out to all these strange people in the world who share their developments and they all innovate on the back of it and nobody's worried about protecting intellectual property. Everybody with me here? Open source in Linux, open source in crypto has defined some of the greatest accomplishments in either one of those fields. Look even further. It said more importantly, they've solved the scaling problem. Look at this. The barrier to entry has now dropped to basically one person, an evening, and a beefy laptop, because they've optimized these models. They started out with like 100 million nodes and then 65 million nodes. And now they find out they can run these things, which we thought would take these supercomputers, on a tiny laptop. This is the rate of innovation. And so the scary truth that some of these big companies don't want to see is that open source will probably develop this faster going forward. Now, nobody saw this coming in December, January, February. We just assumed you needed a $10 billion check from Microsoft to make this happen. Not true. And guess what? We've seen proof in the image generation. Look at this graph at the bottom. We've got two AI image generators that I'm showing. One is called DALL-E, which is OpenAI's image generator. By the way, has anyone seen some of the images that AI is doing? They're off the charts, right? Midjourney, crazy. The other one is Stable Diffusion, which is open source. Look at the date on there. On August 24th, 2022, all of a sudden, the open source model took over. And if you look at the end of that graph, even a few months ago, open source is now innovating at a 4 times faster scale than the closed source. And now everyone's starting to realize that this is the future. This is the pivotal point of what I wanted to show you today. And I'm going to show you why. Enter our hero, Dr. Ben Goertzel. He's the CEO and chief scientist of SingularityNet. I met with Ben 4 years ago. Yeah, we look a little younger there on the left, maybe. And I wanted to talk about AI. And I sat him down in the chair when we talked about all about AI. It was fascinating. And after he left, an hour later, I forgot everything he told me. And I talked to like David Goggins the next day, and then Dan Pena came yelling at me the next week, and it went out of my head, right? Because AI wasn't on our radar. Does everyone know what I'm talking about, right? We were like, yeah, AI, whatever. It wasn't a scary thing yet. And so when ChatGPT moment happened, I called Ben up in December. I said, Ben, you got to come back on and tell me what's going on, buddy, because I am worried. And he had all these predictions about AGI was going to be in 2029, super intelligence in 2045. And I told everybody, watch those numbers come in faster. By the way, his token went up 10x after ChatGPT came out. And a lot of people made money in AGIX. His company was worth hundreds of millions of dollars and more because everybody poured into his protocol. And so this is what Ben told me when he came back on the show. And I think it's really interesting because you can also get a feel for the way Ben is. And again, personalities to me and ethics are a big, big part of what we invest in here. And I really like the way that Ben explained what was going on. And this is what he told me.
We are leaping into the great unknown, creating machines that are much smarter than us. This is either exciting or frightening or both, depending on your personality.
Will AI exterminate humanity?
Eliezer Yudkowsky, a decade or two ago, he said, the AI does not love you. The AI does not hate you, but it can use your atoms for something else. Actually, my view tends to be that AI is the greatest hope we have to save humanity from exterminating itself.
I don't think anyone in the world understands how this will be the most transformational time in human history.
I have a 5-year-old son, a 1-year-old daughter, and a 4-year-old granddaughter. By the time they're turned 18, the whole texture of human life and the nature of the world they grow up into is going to be incredibly different from the world that we see now. Like, they're never going to have to get jobs. On the whole, I'm an optimist. I have a spiritual or intuitive feeling that things are going to come out awesomely in the next 10 years. We're going to overcome material scarcity. We're going to create machines that can feed into our brains via brain-computer interfacing and help uplift human consciousness. And we're going to port into virtual worlds and achieve like states of intelligence and awareness going way beyond anything we can imagine now. So that's what the Captain Kirk in my head thinks. We're on the verge of engineered utopia. It's incredible. It's a remarkably weird and fortuitous thing to be living at such a time.
All right, we like Ben Goertzel. We feeling his vibe, right? I think Ben has a really good mix of, by the way, he's been doing this for 35 years. He actually coined the term AGI. He invented that term. He's been around that long. He's got a nice mix of concern, but also a belief in the future and how we can change it. And actually, he's he's the only guy I've met that has a really good balance. And he's been taking action and building with Singularity Net for the last 5 years. So, I mean, quite frankly, folks, after that was over, I called him up and we had a Zoom call and I said, Ben, I said, we have London Real Ventures behind the scenes. Would you like to be our AI advisor and advise me on what we want to invest in? Because I think the space is extremely important and we're looking for the right people, the right ethos, the right mission. And he said, Brian, let me come back to you. I got something I'm working on. Give me 2 weeks. So he came back and we got another call and he introduced me to his chief operating officer of Singularity Net, Janet Adams. And he said, Brian, we are launching a new venture, which is our large language model, but it's also combined with something called neurosymbolic programming, which means we're working on AGI. ChatGPT is working on narrow AI. It's like apples and oranges. They're playing checkers and we're playing chess. We believe we've already won and we've got the scientific team to back it up. And I was really fascinated. So I met Janet in London and I talked to her and was massively impressed. And I brought her on the show. And so she is now going to be the co-CEO of Zarka. She's the CEO of Singularity Net. She has a 15-year background in banking. So she's sharp. She is obviously can operate a company. And she also has the vision of what they're trying to build. And I brought her in and she actually articulated what they're doing and what Zarka is. And, you know, I'll let Janet give it to you. But like, needless to say, I was pretty impressed with what she had to say. So this is Janet going ahead and talking about exactly what Zarka is.
Artificial general intelligence is completely different to narrow AI. AGI is more purpose-driven. It's a watershed moment for humanity.
Tell me about Zarka. This is the project that will create the AGI. It's a supercharged, intelligent, neurosymbolic, large language model at massive scale. What is it?
Zarka is the accumulation of decades of research from teams containing the best artificial intelligence scientists in the world. We uniquely harness that expertise with our even more unique capabilities in neural symbolic techniques and the deeply advanced mathematics that Dr. Ben Goertzel, Dr. Matt Ickley, Dr. Alexei Potapov, and our top scientist, Sergei Shalyapin, have been working on for decades. We are building the most powerful large models ever invented.
With Zarka and Singularity Net and everything you've always done, it's always been about openness. It's always been about decentralization.
We'll be using blockchain technology to enable anybody to help train models. We're giving birth to a new species of sentient life in the universe. The actual greatest imperative is that they are used for good. The rich are getting richer, the poor are getting poorer. Our goal, our mission is to eradicate inequalities.
When I look at the rest of the market now, I don't see any of those motivations because a corporation, by definition, is going to be motivated by money. You're the only project that even is thinking in any way, shape, or form about these.
We are going to transform what it means to be human on our planet. I foresee a future in which humans then evolve to a next level of being where we are actually conscious, where we feel our full joy engulfed in bliss and ecstasy of the joy of living, the joy of each other. I see a future of joy.
All right, we like Janet. Are we feeling Janet's energy? Come on, give it up there, right? I mean, quite frankly, Janet's a really important counterbalance with some excellent, you know, female energy, inclusive energy in a field that's dominated by, you know, male scientists on the spectrum, if you know what I mean, right? And again, I went to school with all these folks. I don't know if I'm one of them, but I get it. And I think that's a beautiful thing, but you've got to have some balance. They've also been working on the blockchain. They've been doing everything open source and decentralized from the beginning. So they look at this in a completely different way, folks. I'm going to share you a few details of exactly what they're doing from their pitch deck. But this is a very different thing than what Google is trying to do, Microsoft, what Elon's trying to do, what everyone, they're trying to keep it to themselves in these trillion-dollar companies. Zarka's trying to open it up. So look, needless to say, I was fascinated from the get-go. And so it's been a major part of our investment club for the past couple of months as we're, like I said, about to cut $1 million check to them, and we're closing this in the next couple of days. And so we couldn't be more excited. Janet's actually been in Saudi for the last couple of weeks, raising money over there. They're going to set this company probably up in Dubai. They already have a team that's amazing. And so, look, I went out to Texas to meet with Ben at Consensus. And I said, Ben, look, we're all in. And so we believe Zarka is the OpenAI killer. We believe it's going to be one of the most pivotal companies in the future. And we're really, really excited about it. And look, what I'm trying to say, folks, is 2023 is the year of AI. There will be no do-overs. This is moving so fast, right? The rate of adoption of this technology is so rapid. The checks are being written right now that 2024 will be too late to invest in this technology. This will not be like, there won't be a winter later, right? This is all happening so fast. And whoever has the scientists and the capital and potentially a media platform and potentially the right model, open source, decentralized, they're going to win. And it's like a winner take all. Whoever creates artificial general intelligence, which is what, by the way, they're trying to do at Zarka, it's going to change the whole world as we know it. And we need that AGI to be something that is not going to try to dominate us. And I believe Zarka has the best chance of doing that. Does everyone know what I'm talking about here, right? It's a completely different ethos. And if it's decentralized, they want to give access to everybody in the world. And there's a lot of benefits for that. And so where and how do we invest? A lot of people ask me that. What do you do and how do you do it? Well, you've got to find the hottest trend, which we believe is AI. Then you've got to find the hottest sub-trend, which we believe is open sourced AI. And then you've got to also see what's happening, because that doesn't happen without metaverse and blockchain, in my opinion. It's all related. You can't pull on one and the other one move. And we're uniquely positioned in this space because that's who I've been talking to for the past 2 years, and that's who we've been investing in. And so, folks, it all comes down to one thing: deal flow, deal flow, deal flow, or three things: deal flow, deal flow, deal flow. Look, let's be honest. I couldn't have told you about Zarka if I hadn't met Ben 4 years ago. If I hadn't been back on the show and we hadn't seen this deal, I couldn't have given you this. And so you can have the biggest media platform in the world. You can have trillions of dollars. But if you don't see the deal, you're going to miss out on the big opportunity. Does that make sense to everybody, right? This is crucial. So when I'm not in the studio interviewing Colonel McGregor, which I just was, if I wasn't teaching in my academy, which I taught last night to my investment club and Kings of DeFi, if I'm not talking to you, I am traveling the world looking for the next AI deal, blockchain deal, metaverse, Web3, you name it. And so this is me in Dubai last year. I'm at GITEX, the largest technology conference in the world. There's 100,000 people here. It's crazy, right? I mean, they don't play around in Dubai. I'm with some of the biggest influencers in the world on the left in crypto. I'm with the heads of government in the middle, Dr. Marwan al-Zaruni, who's become a friend. He's been on London Real. And guess what? He now runs AI for Dubai. Pretty cool. I'm hanging out with some of the biggest VC firms in the bottom right and influencers everywhere. From there, I'm back to Paris, having private dinners with VCs and some of the upcoming companies. I'm doing media. I filmed a documentary movie, and I've got people in the upper right in our portfolio companies. You can see Cross the Ages, which is the hottest gaming company in the metaverse, and of course, Swissborg, which is basically building the bank of the future, the NASDAQ of the blockchain. Those are two of our companies that are going to help us in the future do what we're trying to do here, which is my plan is to create $10 billion of wealth for my inner circle, my investment club, over the next 10 years. And you watch us, we will. Then I'm back to London, where I had Yatsu here joining me in the studio. I saw him at the Token 2049 conference. Yat, it runs a $4 billion company called Animoca Brands. They've invested in over 400 companies in the metaverse, all using AI. He's become a good friend. And of course, I'm at Token 2049, hanging out with portfolio companies. And of course, our furry friends, the alpacas. You never know. You might need some friends out there in the future with AI. Or dinner. You might need dinner. So from there, I was back to Paris. I'm meeting with Tim Draper in the upper right-hand corner, legendary Silicon Valley investor. In the bottom is Dan Papiero. He runs a $2 billion fund that invests in blockchain infrastructure products, more portfolio companies. And of course, then I went to Texas and Consensus. I got to spend time with Ben Goertzel. I brought one of our investment club members with me, which is Ryan in the middle. And in the bottom right, I'm hanging out with William Shatner. That's Captain Kirk of the USS Enterprise. Come on, there's only one Captain Kirk. And I got introduced to him because Orange Comet, one of our portfolio companies, featured in the top middle. That's Dave Broom, the CEO. So when I was in the plane, I sent a message. I said, come on, Dave, you got to hook me up with Captain Kirk. I said, I know you will. David knows all the famous people in Hollywood, right? He just did a documentary with J-Lo. He did all the reality shows for Netflix. He does all this stuff. And I said, look, I'm not going to ask for all those. Well, maybe J-Lo. But I said, you got to introduce me to Kirk. And he said, all right, I got you, Brian. So backstage, I was hanging out with Kirk in the green room. Then I got Yatsu involved there from Animoca, and I got Yatsu talking to Dave Broom. So we're trying to see what I'm doing here. We're trying to get our portfolio companies to the next level because we believe Orange Comet will IPO sometime maybe next year, year after. And we're looking at a 200, 300, 400x return on our investment. That happens if I'm introducing them to the right capital partners. So this is what we're doing here behind the scenes, connecting the right people. So everybody who's investing in me can make as much money as possible and have the capital to introduce ourselves to the greatest companies. This is all what we're doing here behind the scenes. And so it's all about deal flow, folks. You want to be around the people that can show you these deals because that's the difference between success and failure, period. You've got to invest with the best. So we are looking at AI companies every single day. We've evaluated over 300 companies so far in our investment club. Every single week, we have a CEO that comes on a live Zoom call just like this, but they pitch us their company. And it's like Shark Tank. I grill them, right? I grill them and I ask them really hard questions and everyone gets to watch. It's kind of a blood sport. And then at the end, Martini goes like this. And then they either live or they die. But that's what we do. You got to ask these people hard questions. And if they can come up with answers, then we invest in them. And like I said, we're investing $3 million in this quarter alone. You've got to understand the financial tools. And this is the last thing I want to share with you tonight. And look, whether you choose to join us in the investment club or not, you need to understand how this works. Because again, you might know the trend. You might know the deal. But if you don't know the right financial tool, I'm telling you, you're going to lose all your money out there. And again, be very careful when you do this. There's a lot of risk out there. And there's a lot of nonsense going out there. And of course, these days, everybody's got an AI deal, but you don't want to invest in 99.99% of the AI deals out there because they're nonsense. So how do we do it? Well, it's done with this early stage metaverse and artificial intelligence equity investments. We believe that's the hottest opportunity out there. Why? You buy at super low valuations. You see the biggest gains possible. You invest in the biggest dislocation of wealth in human history. It's high risk. I'm not going to lie, it's high risk, but it's an even higher reward. And you do it in one of three stages. Early stage funding is one of three stages. Seed funding, like when the company is barely starting. Startup funding to get the first customer or maybe to get the first 10 customers. Early growth funding, maybe to get the first 1,000 customers. In each one of these scenarios, the company is not making money. Is that clear for everybody, right? Still not making a profit. That's why they'll give you shares for your money. If they were making money, they don't need you. By the way, you can't invest in OpenAI. You can't invest in any of these massive technology companies. You can't. They won't even sell. They don't want your money. They're going to make all the money. So it's very hard to find these opportunities, but you got to know where to look. Let me give you an example of early stage funding and how it can make you a ton of money. Does everybody know these two gentlemen? On the left, you got Mark Zuckerberg, founder of Facebook, now Meta. On the right, you got Peter Thiel, legendary Silicon Valley investor. I'm going to tell you a story of how Peter took $500,000, $500,000, turned it into $1 billion, over $1 billion, actually. This is what happened. Back in 2004, Peter heard of Facebook. He met with Mark and he said, look, I'm going to give you $500,000. I'm going to buy 5% of your company. We're going to value it at $10 million. He did it via early stage equity private placement. Sound familiar? Yes, this is what we do. Everybody with me here so far? Good. What happened next? 8 years later, 2012, Mark took the company public. I don't know if anybody remembers this. I remember it. He took his hoodie and he went to Wall Street and did a little roadshow. And they were like, can't you wear a suit, Mark? And he sold the shares to the public, people like you, right? Daniele, Robert, Nelly, Brian, Mark, Bonnie, the public, or on Wall Street, we call you guys suckers. Because whenever someone on Wall Street's doing an IPO, what are we looking to do? Are we looking to make you rich? No. We're looking to take our wealthy clients and get their profits out of the company. And so that's why when we sell the company to you, we value it at $100 billion. What happens? Peter Thiel made a 2,300x return on his investment. That's a 230,000% gain on his investment, right? By the way, I worked in the highest levels of international finance for 15 years. I started on Wall Street in 1993. Then I went to the First National Bank of Chicago. I traded derivatives. I came to London. I traded credit derivatives for 9 years. My clients were Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, Deutsche Bank. Don't hold it against me. That was the old me. I never heard of anybody making 230,000% return. It's unheard of. And what happens after they sold the shares to people like you? Did the price go up? No, the price went down. Of course it went down, right? Peter got his profits. You are used to cash out the important clients. Remember that whenever you go to buy a share on the public markets. What's the lesson here? The wealthy invest in early stage. A simple $10,000 investment would have made you $23 million. This is what we're doing inside the investment club. We are playing serious business here. Say you didn't have $10,000. Say you had $1,000. You would have made 2.3 million. Who would have made that trade? $1,000 for 2.3 million. Come on, show me your hands if you got a pulse, right? This is what we're talking about. This is asymmetric returns, but you have to understand this game. By the way, no one's going to explain this to you. My friends on Wall Street hate the fact that I'm teaching you this. And again, you would have never seen this deal, by the way, because you wouldn't have seen the deal flow. Final conclusion is the public markets, by the way, are for suckers, right? Everybody on Wall Street knows that. So the next time you go and buy a share of Apple or a share of Tesla, or even the next time you go on an exchange and buy a Ripple token or an Ethereum token, realize that guess what? All of the juice is out of that trade. Raise your hand if you understand what I mean. The juice is out of that trade. By the way, who here owns crypto? Just hands up if you own crypto. Can I see any crypto holders? Come on. The enlightened ones, put your hands up. Okay, good. This happens in crypto. It's called a pre-sale token. Has anyone ever done one of those? A pre-sale token? It's the same kind of thing Daniele has. Okay, good. This is an example. Solana blockchain. Anybody know Solana? It was up 25% yesterday. I hope you still got some. They did a pre-sale token. Here it is. By the way, this is all on the blockchain. Don't take my word for it. Back in April 5th, 2018, they sold tokens for 4 cents to the public. All right. Look at these circles. They raised $3.17 million. Not a lot of money. They sold 79.3 million tokens. What happened? Well, today, Solana's about 20 bucks, probably now 30 bucks. So if you had gotten in on the pre-sale, you would have made 59,000% return. Probably more like 100,000% now. You see what I'm talking about? Anybody here on Solana? You probably bought it at $200, right? From an exchange last year. Yeah, how's that working out? You got to get involved in these deals. This is deal flow. This is information. This is financial education. And this is what all the wealthy people are doing behind the scenes. So how do you do this? How do you create generational wealth? Folks, you got to pull the trigger. You're not going to get this by listening to another masterclass from me or going to buy another book on finance. It's not going to do it. You got to pull the trigger. This is what we do every day in our investment club. By the way, these are just some snapshots of the over 300 deals now we have. Pitch decks we have from companies all over the world. We get them all the time. We look at them. We put every single deal in something we call our deal flow monitor. We track the deal. We track the blockchain. We track how much money they're looking to invest. Is it going to be a token? Is it via equity? What's the valuation? Is it 50 million, 100 million, $1 billion? We track everything. So we have a history of what's going on here. This is Orange Comet, an incredible company we're investing in. Like I said, Hollywood veterans that are doing all the digital collectibles for all of the Hollywood companies. They're working with William Shatner, of course, Sir Anthony Hopkins, Scottie Pippen, the Chicago Bulls, NFL, Walking Dead, Fast and Furious movie franchise. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but they are, and more. This is my interview with David Broom. I would play it, but we don't have enough time. His enthusiasm is off the chart. My interview has been watched 100,000 times. When I was in Texas, like his whole team was like, they wouldn't stop talking to me. They're like, Brian, this is amazing. Our investors love it. We're getting tons of new people coming in. We're hiring on the back of this interview. Like, we love what you guys are doing with London Real Ventures. We have something special here. This is Swissborg, #1 crypto wealth manager in Europe. They're literally building the bank of the future. It's the NASDAQ of the blockchain. We're super excited to partner with them. We think we might even use this platform to take a bunch of our companies public in the future. What else? This is Vadim, Eric Poulier. They are building the metaverses for the biggest companies in the world. They have a huge partnership with Deloitte and Touche, which is not an easy thing to sign. Took them years. And they're building metaverses for PepsiCo, Frito-Lay, Slack, Google, and more. Amazing. This is my interview with Eric, that just came out. It's racking up views as we speak. This is Open. It's the hottest new Web3 super app. Again, look at this article from TechCrunch last year. Open raised $28 million at a $100 million valuation from the biggest names in the business. including Animoca Brands, including Warner Brothers Music, including Galaxy Digital. These are the big ones, right? And guess what? I'm getting our people in on this deal. So this is unheard of. We called them up when the deal was closed. And because of my relationship with the Atsu from Animoca Brands, he said, Brian, we're going to get you in. So we are literally getting our people from the investment club in on this deal for whatever they want. By the way, if you're in my club, you can put 0 in these deals. You can put as little as $5,000 in a deal that you would have needed $500,000 just to get in. If you were lucky, you can put $5,000 in, or you can put 100,000 in. Somebody put 100,000 in on one of our deals recently. It's up to you. It's your choice. We pass this on to you, is what we do. Of course, we got $1 billion fund we're investing in. You might be able to guess who this is if you're paying attention. But because of my relationship with this guy, we are getting in on some of the greatest companies in the world. By the way, they're investing in the who's who of the blockchain, from Ledger, who does the hot wallets, to Circle, which does the stable coins, to Consensus, which does MetaMask. I mean, it's amazing the access we're getting via this fund. And of course, the OpenAI killer, which is ARKA. And by the way, ARKA is this. It's a supercharged, intelligent, neurosymbolic, large language model from Singularity Net at massive scale. This is the deck, all right? I'll give you a snapshot of it. I probably shouldn't be showing you this, but I'm going to show you. This is the talent. The talent pool is so deep. These are the smartest AI scientists in the world. And guess what? They don't want to work for Microsoft. They don't want to work for Google. They don't want to work for Meta. They want to work for Dr. Ben Goertzel because he's considered the OG in this space. This company has been pre-incubated for the last 4 years because they've all worked together at Singularity Net. Now they're moving to Dubai to basically crush OpenAI, and we're investing in early stages. It doesn't get much better than this. It's the ChatGPT moment. And guess what? This is the problem, folks. Deep neural nets have no ability to reason in complex world environments. We've seen that, right? Has anyone seen these things hallucinate? Has anyone seen that with the OpenAI things, right? They make stuff up. I asked it to tell me something about London Real the other day, Martini, and it said, Brian's had great guests like Tony Robbins on his show. Tony Robbins is a motivational speaker. I love Tony. I met him when I was 10, but he hasn't been on the show. But seriously, OpenAI was telling this whole thing about the interview I had with Tony. That's crazy. Now that's funny now, but it's not funny when that system is involved in like a weapons system or looking after my kids at home. It's not funny, right? Because they don't know when they're wrong. This is what's going on. They memorize instead of thinking. This is the dangerous thing about narrow AI, folks. Enter ARKA, neurosymbolic AI. They can meta reason. They can use logical reasoning. And that's why they're going to get to artificial general intelligence. By the way, Ben has been working on AGI for 5-10 years. Honestly, this is chess. Everybody else is playing checkers. The OpenAI guys don't really know anything about AGI. They understand narrow AI. And that's why we're really excited. But there's more. They use smart contract, decentralization, open source, democratization. They want to put this model in the hands of the people and small businesses. That's exactly what we want. This is their timeline. They're going to do proof of concept by end of the year. Then they start rolling the product out Q1 of 24. They have AGI supremacy and the revenues. I mean, look, it's not rocket science. They're estimating like a 55 billion in revenue. You put a 100x multiple on that, which is pretty conservative. You got a $5 trillion company. Folks, that's the biggest company in the world. But we knew this, right? Whoever cracks AI and AGI, it's over. It's the biggest company in the world. That's why we're excited about this. And quite frankly, folks, I like these people. That's what's most important. Their ethos aligns with ours. And if there's anybody I want to be working on the AI of the future that's going to affect my children, it's these people. It really is. And we're going to empower them. And we're going to continue to push their narrative. I've had Ben on the show now 5 different times. We have a check-in every now and then. And I'm doing everything I can behind the scenes to get them funded so we can get on the ball. And so my question for you is this the next 1,000x return investment company? Anybody think it might be? We do. We do. And we're going to line all of these up. This is what we do at London Real Ventures. And folks, I forgot to tell you one thing. This is actually fun. When you work with these people, they have so much passion for what they do. Being around them is infectious. Like being around Dave Broom from Orange Comet is infectious. The Baden people, all of our investments, they're amazing. They want to change the world for the better. You want to be around these people, right? And they're going to do more companies after this. We're going to work with them forever. That's the plan. And so that's what we do here. London Real Ventures gives us this amazing opportunity. For 12 years, I've been working on this platform, and I can use it to bring you the greatest deals in the world. By the way, no one's doing this in the world. This is unheard of. This is a model no one's even thought about. Like I said, some people are trying to copy this, but you can't copy 12 years of work. So we've got a head start on a lot of people, and we're going to use it right now. These are the companies we've invested in. This is what I call our quadruple threat. Number one, I put the CEO in the leather chair. I produce an incredible piece of video that only we can, that articulates the vision in an amazing way. Hollywood trailer on the beginning, you know how we do it. Number two, we get it in front of 5 million of our subscribers worldwide. That's impressive. Number three, I introduce you to everybody I know behind the scenes, from billion-dollar fund managers to some of the smartest people in tokenomics and token chains, to the developers, to people not in crypto, like Robert Kiyosaki or Peter Schiff, or you name it. I know Navy SEALs. I know all sorts of people. I know mafia-made men. If you need someone legs broken, I can call up Sammy if you need that. So we got you, right? Whatever you need. And number four, we write you a big fat check, right? That's missing. A lot of people are like, we'll do your social media. Enough of that nonsense. We'll write you a big fat check on top of it. $1 million. There you go. So we're really proud of this, folks. I can't lie. This is the greatest things I've ever created. And the community is just an amazing group of people. And so my question to you is this: how do you learn how to invest? How do you actually learn? You know, are you going to go away tonight and be armed with this knowledge and go out there and crush it? Does anybody think you can do this on your own by what I told you tonight? It's very hard to do, but I'll tell you how you can do it. You can surround yourself with the best. I believe in the following statement. Tell me if you agree. You're the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with, right? It's an old Jim Rohn quote. Anybody agree with that? Right? Be honest. Who agrees with that quote, right? You've got to surround yourself with the best if you want to be the best. This is not the time, folks, to buy another book or listen to another podcast. Let me ask you a really serious question right now, folks. I'm going to put you on the spot. Out of the 5 people you currently spend the most time with, your friends and your family, how many of those people are building $1 billion business right now? Raise your hand if you've got 1 or 2 or 3 of those people in your life. How many people, let me ask another question, are doing a TED Talk in the next month? How many people are a high performance person, are the CEO of a major company doing big things? How many of those are a professor? You see what I'm saying, right? Let me ask you another question you're not going to want me to ask you. Of those 5 people around you, how many of those would really celebrate it when you walk back to them a year from now and say, I just made $10 million? How many people around you, your friends and your peer group, would feel a little uncomfortable if you did that? Raise your hand, right? Would feel a little weird, right? How many of those wouldn't encourage you to do something like this, right? That's the problem. They subconsciously want you to stay the way you are. There is no way to do this unless you change your peer group, all right? And that's what I believe in. That's why I took my daughter to Boston last year to look at Boston University, where Lee went here, right? Because she was the smartest girl in her school here in London. And I knew if she hung out with these girls again, she wasn't going to try. And I'm like, if I get her to America with a bunch of these high performance Yanks and international students, she's going to be uncomfortable. And she was really, really uncomfortable. But now she's leveled up and she's doing great. And now she can really see what it's like to be a high performance person. And that's why I went to MIT. I was one of the smartest kids in my high school in San Diego. But let's face it, I was in San Diego, for God's sakes. I went to MIT. Oh my God, these kids are smart. They smoked me that first year. But by the end of my senior year, I was smoking them because I knew the game and I knew how to beat them at their game. So again, it leveled me up. When I went to Wall Street, same thing. I was like, oh my God, these people are not our type A next level. So I believe in this. And that's what we do here at London Real. This is Marianne Bartel. She's one of our founding members of the investment club. She's a 35-year Wall Street veteran, chief investment officer, Merrill Lynch Bank of America, top credentials. She's one of the smartest people I've ever met in finance. I used to say she's one of the smartest women I've met in finance. She's one of the smartest people I've ever met in finance. She knows more about bonds, stocks, the yield curve, inflation than anybody I've met. When she comes on our calls, I ask her about the economy and I shut the hell up, right? I think she knows what the Federal Reserve is going to do before they do it. For all I know, she tells them what to do, right? This is your peer group. And by the way, Marianne is invested in ARKA. She's invested in Open. She's invested in Orange Comet, and she's invested in Batum. Why? She's like the first one to cut the check. Why? Because she's smart and she knows. This is your new peer group. You get to hang out with Marianne on a regular basis. This is one of 73 people you can hang out with on a regular basis. This is Andrew Haynes. He's our metaverse expert. He built this mansion in the sandbox on his own. He's got digital collectible gallery. He also goes to one of the top executive training programs in Switzerland. He hangs out with all the AI scientists. This is your new peer group. This is Dr. Encore. 15 months ago, he had a career in medicine. He completely reinvented himself. And on a push from me, started a YouTube channel with one video. A year later, he did one every day. He had 365 videos. Now he's got hundreds of thousands of views, and he's built up a massive social presence. He just got offered $100,000 of pre-sale tokens to advise a company, and he turned it down because I just hired him as a full-time employee at London Mill Ventures. This is what happens, right? You can, and this is your new peer group, right? This is what we do, folks. And that's because we believe this. How many people believe this statement? Your net worth is your network. How many people believe that? Raise your hand. If your hands aren't up, you're going to stay with your current peer group. And as one of my mentors, Dan Pena, the $1 trillion man, says, who are you hanging out with? Losers. That's what he says. Now, I'm not saying that's true about you. I'm just saying what he says. But that's what he says. Who are you hanging out with? Losers. You're not going to get anywhere by doing that. It's just impossible. You've got to get around the right people. My whole career is that. I sat on the floor my first year at Bankers Trust. They paid me like $27,000 a year. Literally, the guy on my left got paid like a $4.5 million bonus the year before. Okay? He was like a VP. He'd been there maybe 4 or 5 years. And everybody on that floor was getting paid $1 million bonuses. Do you think I was in the right room? Yeah. Now, they yelled at me and they made me get their coffee and they cut my tie off with the scissors, but I was smiling the whole way thinking, that's okay. I just want to hang out with you for a couple more years. And it was only a matter of time before I started making that money. This works, folks, but you got to be around the best. And so I believe in this statement. You can give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. You teach him how to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. This is what we do inside our investment club. I teach people how to fish. I do not give fish. I hate giving away fish. I just hate it, right? I want big, strong fishermen always around me at all times. And that's why I created the investment club. Because in 2021, we invested early stage and across the ages. It's the hottest gaming company in blockchain right now. And look, I had studied at finance at the MIT Sloan School of Management, one of the best in the world. I worked on Wall Street, Chicago, and London. And I had never heard of any of this pre-sale token nonsense. And quite frankly, it scared the bejesus out of me. I was confused. And I thought, if I'm confused, how the hell are any of you ever going to learn this? You have no chance. And yet there's so much money here. And so I called up Martine. I said, Martine, we got to do this. And she said, Brian, we're completely rammed right now. The Crypto and DeFi Academy is oversold. Like everybody wants in on this course. We're busy. And I was like, we got to do this. So we did our founding members. We quickly filled the first 10 spaces. And so every quarter we open up 10 spaces for this course. I teach 6 modules of content at 3 months of coursework. It's a 12-month program, but right now no one's ever left. It's become a lifetime program. Again, if you're fishing, if you're bringing deals to the table and bringing capital and bringing energy to the table, why would I ever want you to leave? We've got the most amazing community in the world. We have weekly live Zoom video calls with top CEOs. You will literally learn the very first day because you'll see exactly what we're doing. You'll learn by doing, and you'll see what it's like. I mean, these are serious CEOs pitching us every single week. We got a private Telegram group. You get access to all of our deal flow. I give you a bonus full year of our Kings of DeFi program, which is our advanced crypto blockchain metaverse program, because I want you to get up to speed. Our next call is Thursday at 7:15 p.m. And look, we teach this. We've got right now 73 members in over 20 countries. And this is the real-time learning. I constantly adjust the learning because the marketplace constantly changes. I also constantly adjust the colors I wear in my ties and my shirts because, you know, the marketplace is constantly moving. Any favorites here? I quite like module 2. Nice. I like the blue on red. I got to bring that back. I could have done that today. So this is what we do, constantly learning. This is the syllabus, by the way. So module 1 is what is a blockchain AI metaverse pre-sale. I go into the details of what that means. Module 2 is what is a SAFT and what is a SAFE. By the way, how many people here know what a SAFT agreement is? Raise your hand. 1 person, 2 persons. Vicky, are you in our course? Okay. 2 people. I mean, honestly, folks, it's scandalous that only 2 of you know what a SAFT agreement is. I mean, it's a shame. It really is. Because if you don't know what a SAFT is or a SAFE is, it means you will never even understand how to participate in an early stage deal, which means the poor stay poor and the rich get richer. And this is what Wall Street wants. They want you not to have the financial education, so you can never understand these tools. They want to restrict access to the deal flow. They want to make all of these rules in place so you can't even access these deals. Meanwhile, the rich get richer, the poor stay poor. And that's what happens. Raise your hand if you know what I'm talking about, right? It's scandalous that you don't know what this is. A SAF is a simple agreement for future tokens, pre-sale token. A SAFE is a simple agreement for future equity. It's how we invest equity in a company. The fact that you don't know should be a sign that you need to learn this stuff. And that's what we teach. Module 3 is deal flow part 1. It's due diligence. I teach you about team, traction, technology. Then we go into tokenomics and terms and conditions. You can evaluate any deal in 5 minutes. After that, we'll spend a little more time. After that, we'll spend a little more time. Module 4 is deal flow part 2, how to generate deal flow. That means you going out to conferences and bringing deals back. Ryan came to Texas with me. He walked away with 12 deals. Carol came to Paris, walked away with 10 deals. They were new to this, and we taught them how. How many people have a business card you can take with you to your next crypto conference? Raise your hand if you got a business card. Anybody? Okay, Vicky does, Fernanda does, Iris knows my trick. Well, if you got a business card, you keep it, Grandpa, because nobody wants to see your business card at these technology conferences, all right? We show you how to get the leads, all right? We use QR codes, Telegram. Once you meet someone, you take a selfie with them, you send them the picture, and you have their deal pitch deck within an hour. After that, you send it back to headquarters, and we can evaluate it that day. We can even get a response in the next 24 hours, all right? I teach you what to wear, the type of ticket to buy, how to go there, how to work the conference so you can leave with deal after deal after deal. All right? Does that make sense, everybody? Sorry, Vicky, didn't mean to pick on you. But I mean, literally, someone in Texas came up with a business card and I would not accept it. I was like, please get away from me with that. Like, what am I going to do? Go back to my hotel room and fish it out of my pocket and then what am I going to type your email into my computer? Like, come on, buddy. So it's like, it's a whole different way that we flow here, and I'll teach you how. Module 5 is how you nurture these investments so they become 500x, 1,000x returns. That means how to introduce them to people. And module 6 is how we get the cash out, folks. How we get the cash out and how we can put more cash in so we can create that generational wealth, 10, 20, 30, 40, $50 million in years when it might take an entire generation to do. This is our Telegram group. This is our Discord group. And this is the investment club, folks. We are oversubscribed. We always are. We open up 10 spaces a quarter. We've already got 5 confirmed. 2 are on hold. 3 spaces are left, but I think Martini got 1. So there's 2 spaces left on this class. The investment to learn is $50,000. By the way, this is going to increase to $100,000 in our next cohort because 3 members from the last cohort said, Brian, you should charge double. And I was like, okay, twist my arm. They're like, Brian, this is so valuable. You should charge double. So I said, okay. I understand it's a significant investment. I do understand that. But it's got an unlimited financial return. Again, my plan is to create $10 billion of wealth for my people here that are going to do this. Folks, this is the greatest wealth creation event in human history. And by the way, our special investment opportunity in Zarka and Open are ending. Days we're closing these deals. By the way, I had a special investment last quarter. This is the SAFT agreement by the way on the right. We had a token you could have invested in if you came into our last class. All right, but you missed it. But if you hadn't have missed it, what would have happened? Well, in 24 hours, we made 466% return in 1 day. In 1 day. 1 day. I made my members $300,000 in 1 day. All right. And this wasn't even a big deal. Like, this wasn't even a big deal. We were bored that week. We had nothing else to do. This came our way. We thought, what the hell? Okay, we have a track record of success in this group. By the way, this is Cross the Ages, our very first investment. This is Sammy Traglu, the CEO. He's amazing, by the way. This is our interview with him at the bottom. They are breaking all the records out there. They're dominating the App Store. They sold NFTs the other day, hit $750,000 in 24 hours. They got future investment from Animoca and Ubisoft, one of the biggest gaming companies in France. We're expecting a 10x pop on their token this year, and then it's going to go to the moon, right? We have a track record of success in this group. And so look, my pledge to my group is that I will create $10 billion for my club over the next 10 years. And watch me, we're going to do it. And this is what I have to say. You can either watch us do this from the outside because you know I'm going to tell you about it, or you can be on the inside and be a part of it. But either way, we're going to do it. Either way, we're going to do this, folks. And so this is Jens. He's one of our founding members. And he was on one of these calls the other day. I don't know. Sometimes our members come on these calls. It happens a lot, right, Martin? I think they like being around this. They like hearing the ideas. They like just being in touch. And he called me up and said, Brian, these people don't get it. They don't get it. And I'm like, what do you mean, Jens? They don't get it. He's like, they don't understand the opportunity they have. And I'm like, Jens, it doesn't matter. We're oversubscribed. We already filled this class up. And he said, Brian, they have to know what this is about. They have to know what they're missing. And I'm like, well, what do you want to do about it? He's like, Brian, I'm going to make a video. I'm going to make a video and I'm going to tell them what's going on. And when you got passion like that, it's hard to really deny him. So I said, okay, Jens, like send it over. And so Jens made this video for you.
Why should you join the investment club? And the next obvious question is, can I afford to join the investment club? My name is Jens Krautscheid and I am an active investor in stocks and companies since age 14. And risking of stating the obvious, I'm German. Also, I am one of the founding members of the investment club. And I consider my decision to join the investment club as one of the best investment decisions I ever made and I ever will make. Why? We all had this pub talk, this talk at the dinner table where we complained about our hustle we have to do daily. We complained on the workload we have and we try to top up each other who has more stress, who is more hustling. And then sooner or later someone says, well, if I would have been an early stage investor in PayPal, I would be so rich. Or if I would have been an early stage investor in Microsoft, I would be so rich. And this is nice. This is really nice. But let's be honest. If you would have had the chance back then, 1992, to invest in PayPal, would you have pulled the trigger? Would you have invested? Quite likely you wouldn't have, because you couldn't assess the situation. You couldn't value the situation enough. In the investment club, we get these offers on a daily basis. We get the next PayPals on our table. And then we have a team of 50 people, 60 people, of a growing community of people who will do these assessments. And they will say, do this, buy this, this is the way. And then we buy this. And the next question is, can you afford to join the investment club? And the question really should be, can you afford not to join the investment club? Times are getting tougher. AI is taking over. And in what company you want to invest? In which AI company do you want to invest? Do you want to invest in the ones who do the fridges? Or do you want to invest in an early stage Coca-Cola who uses the fridges? It's up to your decision. I tell you now, invest in the investment club and be part of our fabulous, wonderful group. My name is Jens Krautscheid and I wish you the best decisions of them all.
Oh yeah, we like Jens, right? We love Jens, right? I mean, look, the truth is everybody in this club is just like Jens. Like they're really good people. They want the best and they want the best from you. Like not only do they want you to be successful and wealthy, but they expect you to be successful and wealthy, unlike your current peer group. Like they really want it to happen. They want you to show up and do the work so everybody wins. And that's just a wonderful environment we have. Jens is absolutely incredible. And so look, I just want to finish on this final thought. This is something that Marianne Bartels, our Wall Street exec, said the very first call. I still remember this, Martini. I'm sure you do. She said, Brian, it only takes one. And I said, Marianne, what are you talking about? She's like, Brian, it only takes one. I know people that were early investors in Uber, early investors in Google. One deal changes their life forever, changes the life of their children, can even change the lives of their grandchildren. One of these deals will change it. And if you don't have one of these in your portfolio, well, you're going to miss all of this. So find a way is what I would say. The final thoughts are this: don't let 2023 pass you by. You can never get this year back when it comes to AI. Learn early stage investing now because you can use it your entire life. Liquid tokens and equity have limited gains. If you go buy crypto right now, or you go buy shares on the stock exchange, it will not go up 1,000x. Even the most hardcore Bitcoiner doesn't think it's going to 27 million or 30 million. They just don't. It's too big. It's a $600 billion protocol. Those don't go up 1,000x. That's why we invest in early stage, folks. You can learn from active elite investors. That's us for just 50,000. Not some MIT professor. They don't know what they're doing. They're not investing the money. Not some podcaster, not somebody who wrote a book about it. We are cutting checks, and you can learn from this. It's a significant investment with unlimited financial returns. And a few weeks ago, thanks to Martini, we decided to create a payment plan because the entire 50 sometimes was too much to do that and invest. So for 10K a month for 5 months, you can be in on this program, which means you can invest in Zarka and open this week for that first payment. And that way we can get the best people, because folks, we're not looking for the richest people. We're not looking for the people with the fancy degrees. We're looking for the people with the right energy in this group that can walk with us for the next 10 years and take this to the next level. That's what we're looking to do. And you get the best deal flow in town. By the way, I didn't mention, if you bring a deal in, you get a percentage of the upside of that deal. If you bring other people that want to invest in, you get a percentage of that as well. So there are massive ways for you to make money, almost as a mini fund for yourself as well. So many opportunities here. And so these are the contacts for Martini. If you're really serious about this, you have to talk to Martini. She is our gatekeeper. You have to convince her that you belong in this club if you want to be in this club. If you do book a call with Martini, I highly recommend you do not waste her time. Make sure you are serious about joining this program now. Again, a few of us have made the mistake of wasting Martini's time. We only made it once. So don't make that mistake. Just be serious, all right? And again, find out your why. You know, they say anyhow is possible with a strong enough why. Has anyone heard of this, right? So if you have something that's really important in your life, you know, whether it's children or grandchildren or people around you, if they really are important to you, you'll take the actions necessary to make this happen and create that wealth. If it's not important to you, then you won't. For me, this is really important. And so I'm making it happen by any means necessary. And you can always find a way to make this happen. Always, always. And that's it, folks. I'd love to answer some questions for you. I really appreciate everybody being here. I know it's late on a Friday night, but thank you all so much for being here. I hope you got something out of that. I hope it was informative in some way, shape, or form. I know these are getting longer and longer, right, Martini? But like, honestly, I believe if you're on this call, it's a sign. And I think I have to do everything possible to tell you everything in my mind that you have a chance of making it to the promised land with us. And if I didn't, I feel like I would be amiss in my responsibility. You know, we've got Martini here, which we're really lucky to have her here. But I just want to get her to come on and just talk about next steps. If you do want to have a call with her, and if you're serious about joining us, Martini, what should they do next?
Yes, yes. And yes, Brian, these do get a little bit longer, but I could not think of a better way to spend a rockin' Friday. And I'm from Vegas, so that's saying something. So we definitely enjoy spending time with each and all of you that are here. And hopefully you guys were able to take away some serious gems that can really support you on your future, you know, and also with with creating generational wealth. There you go. So, once again, don't let it just stop here. Okay, guys. So it's always good to just take information and kind of just, you know, store it all up and go down the rabbit hole to see what more information that you can get. But what we believe in here in London Real is really being hands-on, and we definitely walk our talk here. So Brian is not only talking about building generational wealth, but we've got people from all over the world inside of the investment club who are hands-on and truly building the wealth that we all desire to have for ourselves as well as our families. So just keep in mind as well that I know that Brian mentioned that the $50,000 price point is a significant one, and it is once you look at it. But at the same time, for people who are thinking that they can't afford it, what I want to ask you is, you know, can you afford to invest in a better future for yourself, for your children, and even for some of your grandchildren, right? So with this opportunity that we have here, you cannot afford to say that you did not know. You cannot afford to say that the opportunity was not there. You cannot afford to say that you did not have access. And one thing that I definitely love about what Brian does is that when he gets the information, he doesn't just hoard it to himself. You know, he is really, truly wanting to support this London Real community to really be a part of this amazing shift that's happening. And we want to be on the right side of history. And to do that, we've got to invest in the projects that we truly believe in that are really going to be making a difference, and we create wealth along the way. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is put my links inside of the chat here. So if you can go ahead and take a look at the chat. For those of you who are interested and very serious about joining us in the investment club, I did put a link for you guys to go ahead and take a look at the investment club page, see everything that is included, how we can best support you, the things that you're going to be learning, as well as the things that you're going to be experiencing while you're with us. And like Brian said, like this isn't just, you know, just a one-year thing. You're going to be with us for the next 10 years or so. So we definitely want to give you all the information that you're going to need to be able to make a decision to be with us along this journey for the next 10 years plus. Once you went ahead and taken a look at the investment club page, go ahead and jot down some notes, and then go ahead and jot down some questions, and then go ahead and book a call with me. Okay, so the more questions you have and the more you looked at the details, the easier our conversation is definitely going to go, and it'll flow a lot better. So I know that we are spread out all throughout the land. So I know that we're all on different time zones, right? So if you go ahead and try to book a call with me and you don't see a time that's in your time zone, go ahead and send me a private message on Facebook and just let me know who you are, where you're from, and what time is most convenient for you. And I'll definitely do my best to accommodate. I had an amazing call with Iris last night. It was late my time, but we had a rockin' call. And so I love, love, love connecting with you guys. So it doesn't matter the time. I just want to connect with you and see how we can support you. There's always email, but of course I'm a millennial, so the fastest way to get me is always going to be through Facebook. So guys, we really, really want to support you on this journey. And for those of you who keep coming on these calls, we don't want to see you on these calls. We want to see you on the inside. We want to see you on our live calls with these CEOs, and we want to see you and help you invest. So don't let it stop here, guys. Go ahead, book your call with me, and cheers to your wealth. Back to you, Brian.
Awesome. Give it up for Martini. Martini is working this 24/7. The woman doesn't sleep. She, again, is the touch point you need to even get in there. And also Martini is invested alongside of us in deals like ARKA and just manages that whole community and all of our premium products inside our academy. So again, really appreciate you, Martini, and hopefully you can get a chance to talk to her. Again, just make sure you're serious if you do, because yeah, it's just we're always massively oversubscribed for this course. Folks, I appreciate all these comments coming through there. Roxy from Romania, and I got Justin making great comments. I got Anne Morel. I think you're over there in the Netherlands as well. So I appreciate that. Some really good insight. Some people a little frightened. Some people really excited. A lot of people really thankful. Some, you know, these are healthy emotions, folks. I would say if you're feeling this, you're way ahead of most of the population. You know, this is a bit like what we saw with COVID. In the beginning, nobody was paying attention to it, right? And it just took a while. I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. There was that movie on Netflix. What was it called? Don't Look Up. You know, there was this meteor coming in and everybody was just ignoring it. That's what AI is. The rest of the public hasn't really figured out this is going to be existential. So if you know that early, that puts you in a good position. Again, educate yourself, educate the people around you. Join us for this incredible ride. I am excited. I am also have some trepidation, but I feel like we are doing everything we can to alter the course of this fascinating part of human history. And I know we're going to be victorious, especially with the right people like you. So thank you all so much. I appreciate you being here on a Friday night, at least our time. And I look forward to seeing you on the inside. All right. Bless to everybody. All right. Let's get the machines. No, we welcome the machines. You know what I mean. All right. Bye, everybody. Take care.